Hi everyone and welcome back to our next game in the WARNO Super League tournament by SD League. Today we are watching Fantyx, who is called the weakest hungry enjoyer here. He's on the right in blue, playing as the 5th Panzer Division, I think that is. It is indeed. And then over on the left, in red, we have Mr. Jenkins playing as the 7th Panzer Division. Yes, indeed. They're tiny on my screen because I'm on 1440p, so they're just these tiny little icons. You can barely read the numbers. Right, we're in deployment phase still. I thought we'd have a little look because I'm curious how people are deploying on this map. Because obviously, for deployment is a certain advantage, and, you know, obviously the map's not perfectly balanced. The cities are to one side of each of these points, which I feel like it could do with a little jiggle around. So down here we can see a couple, or a Fux and a Lux, and when we have plenty of infantry here, so quite a spread of stuff there. One Lux going to the centre here for Fantyx, and he's got some Avclara there, and just a couple of infantry and an anti-air unit at this side. So very little, but obviously aiming to get into the city in Foxtrot. And then over at this side, I expect going very hard into here. Now, it's distinctly possible that some of these units could go towards the middle. If I select them and press shift, yes, some of them are. They're going straight for Delta. So you can, if you select units, press shift and see where they're going. I'm not sure of any other way to do it when I'm doing these replays and just in neutral. Over this side, we don't see anything going to the middle. Is there anything up there going to the middle? No. Oh, wait, there is one. Possibly one thing going there to unload. So just some recon by the looks of it. These guys at the back are going here. So, interestingly, Jenkins is just getting into a defensive position around this point. Likely not trying to go all the way in it. Yeah, look at that. Deployment there and then move to there. Okay, so obviously Avclara getting out there. So, yeah, he's going to let Fantyx have that point. But he's pushing harder down here with a lot more units. Obviously, the MI2 getting up there nice and quickly. Jet coming in straight away. Not sure what that's going for. Testing for air defense, maybe? There isn't any helicopters coming from Fantyx. Fantyx doesn't have a lot going to this side, so I think it will be Mr. Jenkins that gets it. Lovely bombing strike, but did it actually catch anything? I don't think it did, because the Lux got there, and the Avclara got to there. So I think that unfortunately missed. Or did it get a unit in the middle? No, I don't think it did. I think it's just the hole that it left. Good use of an Mi-24D there to take that out, though there is an F4F coming in to take out the chopper. Chopper taking quite a lot of damage. MiG-23 going after that F4F, though. F4F should die. Yes, it does. The chopper is still alive. Good use of a chopper early to try and get into this town. Obviously, Mr. Fantyx will get there earlier, which was always a risk because obviously the city is on that side. A couple of units coming around here, but obviously Fantyx at the moment going to be in a very strong position in the centre, and obviously neither player with a lot at the top, but it's going to be Fantyx that is, you know, firmly in control of that point. Big fight is down here, really. Another MiG-21 coming in for a nice strike there, taking out the infantry in that building. Good use of that Mi-24 to do a lot of damage to everything here. Lots and lots of rockets. It does have the anti-tank missile as well, but they're very, very inaccurate, those ones. They're just very likely to miss their target. As you can see, this is still alive, and that's been firing at it for a while, mainly doing damage with those rockets. Rockets obviously currently need rearming, so I expect we will see some supply coming in shortly. There is a supply there which is being pulled back to cover it as well. There is another Mi-24D there too. I didn't see that one come in, so that will be providing fire support at this side. Not a lot in here now for Fantyx, but Fantyx in a very strong position in the centre, although only at one half of the point, not being too aggressive at the moment getting to the other side, as I imagine he expects that Mr. Jenkins has a lot there. Command tank coming in here at the moment, lots more points capped for Fantyx. Fantyx at +6. It's just command tanks in currently for Mr. Jenkins. Obviously, they're a lot slower chugging around the map there. T-55s are also not a huge amount of front armour. T-72 coming in there. 7th Panzer Division aren't one of my favourite divisions. I'm not a huge fan of just the T-72s. I actually prefer the T-64s. Not a lot of movement, I think, at the top of the map, and there probably isn't going to be. I think we're going to be focused a lot on combat in the center eventually, and mainly down here. Not a lot of anti-air at this side for Fantyx. I mean, nothing in here. In fact, there is a Roland over there. So, use of bombers by Mr. Jenkins is going to be advantageous, and obviously the choppers as well, which are slowly getting rearmed and repaired. Another supply vehicle, sorry, being brought in there. I hear a jet in the background. It's that HE bomber again, waiting for a suitable target. That Milan could be it, and that building next to the Milan, no, veered off. Interesting. A Jeopard doing a little bit of damage to that MiG-21. Jeopard's quite good in the game at the moment. For being particularly German about it, it's Gepard. But being British, in British English, GE is Jeopard. I just do it to upset Protoss. And then a Roland 3 coming in as well, which is also going here. So we're going to have plenty of air defense here. I think that's a good choice. Nice bombing strike there. Mi-24 coming under a lot of fire from that Jeopard. Mainly doing a lot of suppression damage rather than doing a lot of excessive damage to it. And that MiG-21 is flying over a lot of air defense, and it's taken a lot of damage. I think that was a mistake. I think they meant to evac that. HE bomber coming in at the top now as well. And an anti-tank coming in. Where was that going for? Marder maybe? Oh, interesting. Mr. Jenkins has got in at the top there. No one currently has control of the bottom point. You know, it's only just dawned on me. No one has brought a command in down here. So I expect we're going to see... I was going to say maybe he'll move this tank down there. But maybe Mr. Jenkins will leave it. That's interesting. I'm surprised no one's tried to cap this yet. Obviously, Fantyx still way in the lead in terms of points. Another command coming in here to contest this point. I'm expecting to see one get called in for here as well. Fascinating. Still wondering what that anti-tank jet is doing at the back there. Perhaps he's going to try and pop any commands that come in. That's not a bad option. MiG-21 HE bomber in again there. Nothing at the other side. Oh. T-55 has been moved in, and that has been capped. Currently +1, now +3 to Mr. Jenkins. Hang on a minute. Where are the commands? Is that the only command Fantyx has had this game, or has he lost one somewhere? It's distinctly possible. Something died down here, so that could have been a command that died. It's a tank, though. Good strike on whatever was there. I think recon of some description. That's really interesting. There is another command there. I'm really curious if Fantyx lost a command and I missed it. Mi-24D coming in at the top there. That makes 3 Mi-24Ds in the map right now. So that will be the limit in the rule set for the tournament. As they are all high health choppers. I think that chopper just got hit by a Milan. Although it didn't do it any damage, so it obviously exploded next to it. That AT is still in back there, but I'm not sure what it's going for. And it's going to have to go and refuel soon. This is interesting. It's currently +2 to Mr. Jenkins. Commander's coming in to counter in the center there, and the command tank is dead at the top, which I'm not really surprised by, because there isn't really a lot of area to hide it in there. The same as down here. There's not a lot of area for Mr. Jenkins to hide his units. His T-55 can sort of sit in there, but really there's very little area, and any recon at this side of the town is surely going to see anything in these bushes. Anti-tank was coming in there, but is now evacing. Command back in the center there, and the command of Mr. Jenkins has been killed in that tree line by the Leo 185, I think. So back heavily in Fantyx's favor in terms of map control right now. Only +3 in terms of points, though. Just under 31 minutes left of this match, and it could still go either way. I feel like Fantyx has a lot more on the map right now, so it's probably managed to kill a lot more. I think the loss of a few command tanks for Mr. Jenkins is not ideal. I'm wondering if Jenkins has any other commands in the deck, because obviously the tanks are pretty big. They're not invisible, you know, they're easy to see when they're in these tree lines. I suppose in this situation you almost want an infantry command because they're harder to see. But, you know, it's not going to take a genius to work out they're in one of these bushes and drop some bombs or artillery on the bushes. So, it's still very risky. I think this is a difficult map if you're on the left-hand side here. And if you don't have forward deployment. Good use of these choppers down here still, just doing damage slowly to all of these infantry. There is obviously anti-air here now, but not quite enough to deal with these choppers at that range. I was going to say, that should be that dead. I mean, it's almost like Jenkins needs Fantyx's units to open fire so you can see exactly where they are right now, and then engage them. Missile went in there against the Leo, but missed. The Leo's already damaged. T-72 will move up and engage. ATGM going in there, and this chopper as well moving up there. Obviously, the concern is the Roland 3 will have good range on these helos. And then, obviously, the Jeopard will have decent range as well. That is such a lucky helo. That's like on a pip of health, and that Roland is reloading. Good hit. Didn't do a huge amount of damage. That Roland is going to be reloaded and ready to fire as this missile hits. If it hits, it missed, and there it is dead. I mean, that was almost a definite kill. Oh, 2 F4Fs in there. Took out one of Mr. Jenkins' jets. I don't know what he lost there. Possibly a bomber? Honestly, not sure. Very distracted by the ongoing combat down here. Few units in here for Mr. Jenkins, but I'm afraid they're not going to do a lot against all of this that is currently in there for Fantyx. Fantyx with a lot of units in. Not a lot up here, though. I think there is a possibility for Mr. Jenkins to do more up here. He's bringing in another command there. I assume that's going to the middle. Yes, coming in at that corner behind his units. Better positioning than the other side, perhaps. MiG-21 coming in here. Gonna go for a strike. There's a lot of AA at the other side, though. Oh, and it is dead. It took a lot of fire there. What was that? 2 Rolands, the Jeopard, and possibly something else as well. This is the thing, that the MiG-21s are dive bombers, so they get really low when they drop their bombs, so they're very accurate, but it also means they get a lot closer to the anti-air. So I think it puts them at a much bigger risk. That's another chopper loss there for Mr. Jenkins. Unfortunately, those choppers, while doing a fantastic job, are now being countered very effectively by Fantyx's AA. Command in this back corner, it is the furthest point probably from any of Fantyx's units, but realistically, I think Mr. Jenkins is going to struggle to keep that alive. Look at this. Immediately, Fantyx responding, pushing units further towards that corner. Up here, we don't see a lot of movement. We do see a Leo 2A3 coming in there. Another jet down as well. I think that was one of Mr. Jenkins again, but I could be wrong. It's really hard to tell from the wreckage. But he did have an AA jet in, so I'm not sure. Artillery in now there. Yeah, artillery going for the Rolands, trying to do some damage to the anti-air. Mr. Jenkins has been relying a lot on his helos and his aircraft. Yeah, Fantyx moving that straight out the way. Couple of bombers coming in at the top here, or a bomber and an anti-tank. Going straight for that Leo. Leo is a big problem. The bigger one, an even bigger problem. It's seen, no, it's... Oh! Good smoking by Fantyx there. And a loss of an AT jet by Jenkins. That's unfortunate. I thought it was going to get the kill there, but it was smoked just in time by Fantyx. Fantyx paying attention to what was happening there. Apache and down at the bottom here. Rocket Apache. Good unit. Plenty of firepower. MiG-21 HE just hanging around there. That is firing again. It's firing on the same area, but Fantyx has already shifted that. MiG-21 taking a lot of fire. Interesting, the points are currently neutralized. I'm genuinely surprised there is no command in here for Fantyx, to be honest. I feel like Fantyx could have had a command in there for quite a while now. I'm assuming, of course, that Fantyx has more than 2 or 3 commands in their deck. Because that's another aspect of this version of the game. People are taking less commanders. So, you know, maybe there are only 2 or 3 in the deck, and therefore he can't spare one to send down here. I think the other thing is Fantyx is focusing a lot on this combat up here at the moment and just reinforcing this point. 2 AA jets coming in there. One taking a lot of fire from that Cub. Other one taking fire as well. Cub is just enough. They both got out intact, but Cub is just enough to take them down to 1 hit point. Cub does 9 damage. Huge 9 points of health. Most jets having 10 points of health. So a couple of hits from that will definitely kill it, but missing its second shot on both of those jets. Mr. Jenkins will be disappointed with that. AT coming in again. Going for that. Oh, it was just targeting the ground. It wasn't actually targeting the Leopard. Roland getting some shots off there, but missed. Just only 24 minutes left now. It still feels like Fantyx is in a strong position in terms of amount of units on the field. There's been quite a few expensive aircraft losses for Mr. Jenkins. He does have a lot more in down here, though, and he is pushing into this city area. Or will be, I think, with these units here. I feel like this is a better position for Mr. Jenkins because he can get in on top of Fantyx. There's not a lot there, but I imagine that we're going to start seeing more reinforcements coming in. Down here, it's been a bit more of Fantyx just keeping stuff alive, I think, rather than pushing this point. I mean, as I say, not even attempted to capture it with a commander is unusual. There is another command coming in now. It's being sent around here. So that's 3 of those commands on the map now. So he is planning to finally cap that and get the points moving again. I'm curious what commands that Mr. Jenkins has in the deck, though. We've seen 3, in fact 4 tank commands come in now. We've seen the T-55 tank commands, and we're now seeing T-72 tank commands come in. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're seeing 4 tank commanders. Those are expensive. I'm assuming in that case that Mr. Jenkins doesn't have any standard like commanders in terms of little jeeps or little armored vehicles from the logistics tab, or I'm sure we would have seen one by now. That command's just sat there. There we go. It's moving in now, so that'll get the points moving again back to a +1 for Fantyx. More reinforcements arriving here for Mr. Jenkins. I think he has a very good chance of pushing in here. We'll notice that the command It's just sat right at the back, but the tanks that were there are gone. So the tanks must have been killed, which surprises me greatly. I didn't even see them get killed. Where did they die? One's dead there. That's a Leo 1, though. So what happened to the Leo 2? I'm not sure where the Leo 2A3 went. It's obviously died somewhere, maybe in the trees. Command is dead here from the armburst. I'm not surprised by that. I mean, slowly but surely, Fantyx was pushing into that corner. Cap down here as well. Currently +3 to Fantyx. I'm wondering now if Mr. Jenkins has any more commands alive. I think biggest chance is probably right now for Mr. Jenkins to take this top point, but there are reinforcements coming in for this point now. This leopard is being pushed across. There's another leopard 2A3 coming in there. There's not a lot in the town, so I feel like Mr. Jenkins is in a good position to take this at the moment, especially with the fire support from the tanks. Roland should die to that 72 there. 72 also putting down a lot of fire on these Panzer Grenadiers. Roland is dead. Good. Focusing up here really has worked out for Mr. Jenkins. Lots less down at the bottom now, though, and there is a lot of stuff in here now for Fantyx. I mean, as I say, hasn't really pushed hard here, but has secured the defensive position with constantly bringing in a unit or two down here, and it looks pretty solid now. Center, again, it's sparsely populated is the way I would phrase it. Plenty of stuff in this top corner now in terms of tanks for Mr. Jenkins, but there's no command there. And I'm really not sure if Mr. Jenkins has any more commands, and those tanks alone aren't going to hold that point. They need infantry with them. As I say, Fantyx is really spread out here, and Jenkins doesn't know this, but I suspect that if Jenkins could have mounted a good assault at one side, probably could have certainly held one corner. I mean, here we're talking about the Pioneers left, a Marder Milan and a Lux, and a Marder there, and I guess the Panzer Grenadiers in that Marder. I mean, that's all that's in this side. So, that, you know, it should be killable stuff. The tanks will actually be reasonably effective, except against the Milan there, but there is a 2A3 coming in to help defend that point. Really well done here for Jenkins, though. He's gone in here. It's currently just +2 to Fantyx. A little bit of movement down here from Mr. Jenkins, but has lost a unit at the side there. Obviously, there's just a huge amount of units in here. What is surprising me currently is that T-55. It must be hidden from Fantyx's units. It must just be, yeah, it's like sat in the building almost. So it must be completely invisible to all of these units. Let's have a look. Yeah, so it's in the blind spot for this unit. It technically isn't in a blind spot for that unit, though. Weirdly. The Lux can't see. I wonder if that can see it or just not see past the building, really. And that's a little bit confusing. And technically, the Panzer Grenadier Marder there can see the back of it. That's difficult to say. Anti-tank jet was coming in there to do some damage. I think it went for the Leo 2A3. Mr. Jenkins managed to make some movement here with the... Is that some Alf Clara there? Yes, indeed it is some Alf Clara. Plenty of infantry coming in here to now reinforce that. Good decision, I think. More reinforcements coming in for Fantyx here, though. Really wants to get back into that point. A little bit of air combat going on at the back here, but there are plenty of anti-air units in for Fantyx as well. Very little movement at the bottom. It's all about what's happening up here right now. I imagine we're going to see more reinforcements called in for the centre soon as well. I'm still waiting to see if Mr. Jenkins has any more commands. I'm really not sure. Look, the artillery piece is off in the water. That's taking the long way around. Which makes an interesting point. Yeah, it can fire while it's in the water. It's aiming. I did wonder if it would be able to fire when it's in the water. Does that work in real life? That I genuinely don't know. Let me know in the comments. Can you fire that artillery piece while it's floating in water in real life? I feel like the backblast would, like, I don't know, make it dip under the water each time? I don't know. It's just sort of wobbling about a little bit, but I feel like it would really shift when it fired that. Artillery trying to take out that anti-air at the back there. Plenty of reinforcements coming in here. Mostly Igglers and a flame troop. A couple of squads of infantry in there. Mr. Jenkins getting a good spread around in here. Some more reinforcements coming in. 80 GM, standard infantry. I'm just not seeing any more commands. I'm really worried that Mr. Jenkins doesn't have any more commands in the game. Or in the deck, sorry, I should say. Which means that he's down to just this one command tank. And once that's gone, that's pretty much game. Because even if he destroys all the enemy commands, the points will still belong to Fantyx. Because he won't be able to counter-cap them. So this is really interesting. I'm genuinely surprised we haven't seen a command of some description come in for the center. I mean, I think by the looks of it, yeah, that T-72 is being moved around there. In terms of this point, we're not really seeing a command on the move from Fantyx either. I'm not sure how many commands Fantyx has. Equally, it could be that Fantyx is now out of commands. Which means there's this one in the center and this one down here. But one of those could easily be moved up to the top. That's not out of the realms of possibility. MI2 taking a lot of fire there. I don't think that's going to make it out alive. There it goes. I feel like this has been a challenging game for Mr. Jenkins. I don't know how he felt about it. I feel like being a little bit on the back foot because obviously the map is a little bit one-sided in the sense of where these cities are located, and once you're secured in a city, it's challenging to be pushed out of it. You're talking about potentially lots of bombers, lots of rocket helos, lots of close quarter combat infantry, artillery, bombing run, artillery, bombing run, artillery, bombing run. You know, clearing buildings, there's only a few ways to do it, and if you've got a good air defense, you've got a good ground spread defense, then it's very difficult to get near the city. I think I mentioned in one of the previous games that possibly coming around the bottom here is an option because there's less ground to cover, but even then, I mean, it's quite open. I think it's a very difficult point to assault this one. This one's a little bit easier because you have this forest at this side all the way up to the town, which has been used very effectively by Mr. Jenkins earlier in the match. But I think just in terms of what has been lost versus what is on the field, Mr. Jenkins just doesn't have the numbers. I think the fact that there hasn't been another command brought in by Fantyx, though, means that he doesn't have an extra one for Foxtrot. I think he's limited to the two he already has, one at the bottom and one here. Yes, in fact, look at that. This Iltis is being moved up to the center and possibly up to Foxtrot now. So that's really interesting. Yeah, he's moving up to there and then possibly going to move to Foxtrot. So that is that's quite telling. I suspect then that Fantyx doesn't have another command. So both players perhaps only with one card of commands, or two cards of tank commands for Mr. Jenkins, sorry, because he did have the T-55s and the 72s. But I think it's all over. It is currently neutralized, but I don't think it's going to be neutralized for long. I think once a command gets in Foxtrot, it will quickly push it over the edge, but I think we can safely say that this game has gone to Fantyx at this point. A valiant effort put up by Mr. Jenkins, though. Really good job taking that top point, refocusing attention, and then obviously focusing some attention on the center as well. Really good effort at the start, trying to get into this point, but it's so difficult, I think, to breach here, as I say. I think that's a really difficult, you know, don't get me wrong, there are players that have the skills to do it, but I think it's such a challenging thing to push into a city like that when you're in open terrain, effectively. More and more arriving here for Fantyx as well now. I think it's still quite spread out, but I think at the same time that Fantyx is fairly spread out, Fantyx is now clustering more units at this side, but Mr. Jenkins is more spread out. Which means that, you know, Fantyx can technically focus up and push one side aggressively and not take fire from quite as much on one unit, whereas Fantyx could focus down a lot of fire. Another HE bomb coming in for Jenkins there. I'm curious to see if this makes it out alive, because there is a strong air defense net here now. There's no denying that there's a very strong air defense net. Nice strike, but yeah, immediately that plane is dead. I mean, any jet that comes in now at this stage of the game with so much anti-air in play, it's very much going to be a case of a suicide run. Just under 10 minutes left now of this game. And while it is stalemated, I think that's going to change very, very quickly. Yeah, there we go. The Iltis command rolling into Foxtrot now. That will shift this around completely. It will be +2 to Fantyx once that is capped completely. Plenty of units in here now. Poor Jenkins isn't getting back in there. +2. It's just a matter of seconds before it's over. Really well played though, guys. Really intense fighting in this game. Really intense fighting, especially at the bottom at the start, and then throughout the game, sort of at the top and in the middle here. And really well done to Mr. Jenkins. You've done a fantastic job at pushing back into these points. And that's something we've seen in a couple of these games so far. The person who seems to be on the back foot has managed multiple times to aggressively manage to get back in and take points. And that's a skill in itself, managing to do that. It's not an easy thing to do, especially against these heavily fortified towns. So I have to give a lot of credit to whoever's been playing on the left in multiple games, because they've done a really good job. Well done, guys. Obviously, yes, as expected, the kills to losses there was a massive difference. You know, that was sort of expected from the losses. But let's just have a look at the kills to losses, because I'm genuinely wondering how many commands were lost. So the T-55 was lost in the T-55 there. So that was 2 command tanks that were lost. And then there must have been another command tank, I think, that was lost as well. Yeah, the T-72 was lost. So that's 3 command tanks lost. And I think that Jenkins only then had 1 left. And on the other side, a Leopard commander was killed. I didn't see that. So there was a Leopard commander in. Another Leopard commander. So 2 Leopard commanders were killed in that game by Jenkins. And the little Iltis as well. So I suspect, in that case, that the 2 Iltis that were left on the map were all that Fantyx had as well. But he had 2 cards the same. So 2 cards, one of the 1A5s and one of the Iltis. So yeah, interesting to see how it shifted, because prior to Udino, people were certainly bringing in more commands. There has been a shift in the playstyle. Look at that Leo 2A3 and the kills it got. Wow. That was doing a hell of a job. I assume that was at the top of the map. Can't be certain though. Really good game, guys. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining me. Please do like, share, subscribe, and tune in for more WARNO tournament this week.